This tutorial will demonstrate how to do the Kitchener stitch. The Kitchener stitch is a very useful stitch to know, and it's most often used on toes of socks, but there are lots of other applications as well. As you see, I've got my stitches on 2 needles, and I have equal amounts of stitches, and my yarn is coming from the first stitch on the back needle, and I have threaded a tapestry needle with a length of yarn that's about 3 times the length of what I need to seam. So to begin, I like to stick my index finger in between the 2 needles because I think it gives me a little working room. Kitchener stitch has actually 4 steps to it. 2 stitches on the front are worked together in a pair, and then 2 stitches on the back. But to actually begin, you have to start with a setup stitch. So we're going to go into the front stitch as if to purl and draw the yarn through, and then as if to knit, and that is our setup stitch. Now, I have a little chant that I use. I always chant when I'm doing Kitchener stitch, no matter how long I've done it. And I would also recommend that when you do this, get in a nice quiet room and take the phone off the hook and tell the kids that you need a couple of minutes to yourself. Okay, on the first stitch on the front needle, we're going to go in as if to knit and slip it off. And then we're going to go in as if to purl and leave it on, and then we're going to draw the yarn through. Now we're going to the back stitch. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to go in as if to purl and slip it off, as if to knit and leave it on, and draw the yarn through. Now I feel strongly about this, but you can do whatever you like. I like just using the tip of my needle to move the first stitch and then go through the second stitch before I draw all the way through. I think it's easier not to get confused. So we're going to go into the second stitch as if to knit and slip it off, as if to purl and leave it on, and then we draw through. Then we go to the back as if to purl and slip it off, as if to knit and leave it on. Now when you pull your yarn, you always want to have it coming under the tips of the needles. As if to knit and slip it off, as if to purl and leave it on. As if to purl and slip it off, as if to knit and leave it on. So the front pair and the back pair are the inverse of each other. In the front, you start with a knit and end with a purl. On the back, you end with a purl. You start with a purl rather and end with a knit. Let's go back again, as if to knit and slip it off, as if to purl and leave it on, as if to purl and slip it off, as if to knit and leave it on. And we're going to chant our way all the way to the end, as if to knit and slip it off, as if to purl and leave it on, as if to purl and slip it off, as if to knit, come on, and leave it on. And we can see, let's take a sec and just look at our work. It's looking very nice. Don't worry too much about the tension of your stitches. You can adjust them when you get to the end. As if to knit and slip it off, as if to purl and leave it on, as if to purl and slip it off, as if to knit and leave it on. And you're just going to continue in this way until you get to the very end of your stitches. And when you get to the very end of your stitches, you are going to end up with single stitches on front and back needles instead of the pair that you're used to. But you're just going to work them the way you typically would. You won't change anything about it. You'll be left with 1 stitch on the front and 1 stitch on the back needle. So you'll go into the front stitch, the stitch on the front needle rather, as if to knit, and into the stitch on the back needle as if to purl, and that will be the end. So we're getting down to the end here, getting close. As if to purl and slip it off, as if to knit and leave it on. This is not hard to accomplish, but it does take concentration, and it is also a royal pain to try to take out. So I like to do everything I can to give myself the advantage of not being distracted when I start, just for what it's worth. Okay. Here we are down to our last 2 stitches. So we're just going to go into the front one as if to knit and the back one as if to purl, and just take it off. Now a lot of times you'll be doing this yeah, I did this in the round. That's why it looks like that. A lot of this you're going to be doing this as a toe, so it will be fairly solid. It'll be joined on both sides, like so. And that's it. And if you need to adjust your stitches, if you have some that are a little uneven, just grab them by the leg and you can even out the tension to the end here. Looks beautiful.